Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast, We Ballroom, hosted by Ricky Taylor Dubavik and myself, Dan Spach.
Hi guys, this is episode 4 of Why We Ballroom, and it is our New Year's Eve, New Year's episode. We're going to be talking about how to quote unquote bounce back from all the holiday festivities and celebrations that may leave you feeling a little bit less than your best. And we all want to go into 2021 the best that we can. So we're going to be talking about what we suggest and what we're going to be doing. And also, we just want to say we're not professionals by any means. This is just our experiences, and we just want to share with you what we have experienced for ourselves.
Yes, so starting right away, New Year's resolutions. Everyone loves them until they have to face them. Um, let's see. Most common New Year's resolution is getting a membership at the gym and never using that membership. My advice. Now, guys, when you look at me, I am a skinny guy, and taking gym advice from me seems weird, but trust me on this one. Um, uh, get yourself a gym buddy, someone who can motivate you when you work out. You can motivate them. It's like vice versa. You're helping each other out. It'll be more fun. It'll be way more motivating. Um, but yeah, you guys can be spotting each other, helping each other out, everything. Also, Ricky, would you like to talk about dietary plans to get back
Um,
from all of the good stuff that you ate over the holidays? All of the pies, all the sweets, everything.
yeah, so definitely, I am not a dietitian in any way. I obviously, being a dancer my whole life, there's a huge emphasis on food, what you put in your body to fuel your body as a competitor. It doesn't have to be just for dancing, it could be for anything. Um, Around the holidays, we all can succumb to the pressure of whether you're on a diet or not actively. We're all going to have sweets. We're all going to have a little treat. You could be drinking, you could be partying, and it's the end of the year, it's celebrations, and that's kind of like what the end of the year is for. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But definitely kind of getting back to a place where you feel really good. For me, it's way more about how I feel. My whole life, I have been fairly small in my body that a lot of people, when I was growing up, they would automatically just tell me, "Oh, Ricky, you're so skinny, you don't have to care about what you put in your body." And obviously, when I was young, of course, my parents were in charge of what I was eating. So they would try to give me as healthy food as possible. But obviously, I did not have a perfect diet by any means. And because my body didn't change based on what I was putting into it, it could definitely, if you have a really high metabolism and you find yourself in a similar situation, it can be very easy just to keep eating maybe not the healthiest foods because you don't see an immediate effect in how you look. Unfortunately, our society is way more focused on how you look based on rather than how you feel. So for me, when I look in the mirror, I don't see anything that I'm like, oh, I have to get rid of this or I have to lose weight or that. But I definitely judge myself more on how I'm feeling. If it's easy to get up in the morning, if I feel hydrated, for me, it's a lot more about my skin because when I have maybe way too many treats, my skin can react. And for me, that's my sign that, okay, I need to lay off the treats, gonna be drinking as much water, fruits and vegetables, whole foods as possible. So, kind of going into the new year, I'm focusing a lot on how my body feels. And if you are in a similar situation where you wanna focus more on how you feel, I always say the best thing is to cut out as many processed foods as possible, which isn't always easy. But when you get in the habit of it, of just buying fruits, vegetables, whole foods, cooking, not even that hard. You can just make really simple meals and it sometimes it could be boring, but literally I had this situation where it was boring, but how I feel counts way more than what I'm tasting. And fortunate for me, I love water. I know a lot of people don't like water. So when I really want to feel my best, I always start my day with drinking water. And the entire day, I only drink different versions of water, which is just like regular water, or I'll have a tea. I never have sweetened teas, iced or hot. I always have them unsweetened, just plain. Because I always feel better that way. And even though a sweet tea tastes nice, I know it's not going to do any good for my body. So I always just stay away from the sweet teas. I love herbal teas and non-caffeinated teas and just drinking water all the time, which definitely makes you feel so much better on the inside. It's going to help flush out everything as fast as possible and kind of get you feeling better as quickly as you can.
Yes. As well, get yourself a diet buddy. Or I'm going to be going back to this buddy thing, I think, for this whole podcast, because it's very important. Having someone to do it with makes it less boring. You won't be feeling like you're forcing yourself to do it. You're forcing someone else to do it, and they're forcing you. So that feels better at some degree. But yes, always get yourself a buddy to do it with. It could be your partner. It could be genuinely your dance partner. Yes. Now, talking about the ballroom, something that I want to discuss with you, Ricky, is different types of dancers get a thrill from different parts of dancing. Some dancers find the thrill in actually practicing. Some dancers find the thrill in competing. Right now, I think the dancers that are thriving the most are the ones who find the thrill in practicing. Because now they're going to the practice and they're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Oh, what would you say? Like, what kind of dancer are you? Are you the one who goes off of thrill of practice or competing?
I would say such a stupid answer. I'm a little bit of both.
Okay.
Immediately, the first part of my brain says, I love competing. I love the thrill of the competition, the music when you hear it. Honestly, I don't necessarily love spending hours upon hours getting ready, but after I've gone through that whole process and I'm ready, I'm so inspired. I feel so fresh and I'm just so excited to go out and dance. And obviously, there's tons of competitors that feel the same way. But when I think about it a little bit deeper, not just my first reaction, there have been so many days where you have bad practices. Or for me, that I've had bad practices either with my partner or even a solo practice where maybe I wasn't feeling it that day. But there have been so many more practices that I was just so happy to be at practice and I felt so in my element, especially when you're doing rounds, run through consistently on a weekly basis. There was a time where I was doing Latin rounds 3 days per week, and then I was doing standard rounds 2 days per week. So out of the 7 days, 5 out of 7 days, I was doing some form of run through, and usually a run through would be at least 2 or 3 rounds. That takes a really heavy toll on your body and your mentality to put yourself through that. But I can tell you, when I was pushing myself the most is when I was thriving the most. I thrive on challenging myself. And you can challenge yourself in the competition, but personally, I feel like it's way harder to challenge yourself in the practice because you always just rely on the competition of, oh, there's going to be an orchestra. Oh, there's going to be other couples. Oh, there's going to be certain judges. I'm going to be more excited. I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to do my best. But of course, the problem is if you don't prepare like that in your practice, it's never going to happen on the competition the way you want it to. There are there's some times where you can have an absolutely amazing competition that you prepared for, but you didn't even prepare for that it was going to go that well. I've had a few times in my life where I've experienced that where either my results or my dancing just blew myself out of the water. But that's just because I was mentally and physically preparing myself so much that I just decided whatever happens on the competition is going to happen. And there have been some times where what happened was absolutely magnificent and I will always remember. But when I think about the practice, there have just been so many days where I absolutely love practicing. I love hearing the music. I love doing it over and over and over again, because when I do it over and over again, obviously it makes me feel better because I'm getting better at whatever I'm practicing, whether it's a move or a dance, new part of choreography, whatever it may be. So I absolutely understand the people that thrive in practice, but there's also another part of me that is just like, I can't wait to get to the competition. And when you're in that competition and you're in that mode, you just get that feeling that you're like, okay, this is like, I'm ready to go, we're going to do it, and it's going to be awesome. So I'd say I'm a little bit of both, but definitely I would agree with you. The people who thrive in practice are probably doing much better right now, because we have obviously no competitions. We don't know when the next competition is going to happen. It can be really devastating for the dancers who do thrive solely on competition. So I would say if you're one of those dancers that are struggling right now because there are no competitions, try to look at your practice and try to just imagine your practice as a competition. As excited you get for the competition, try to have that same feeling, or a little bit of that same feeling, when you go to practice, because it will make your practice much more enjoyable, and you're probably going to be a lot more productive during it as well.
Completely agree, yeah, with you, Reiki. Um, Something that I want to throw in for those who have troubles right now practicing, you should rethink your practicing plan if you have one. All dancers should have their practice plan of what they do when they come to the studio to practice whatever they have. Um, Another thing, take those online lessons, just like group lessons, private lessons. I know a lot of big coaches and teachers and dancers are still doing online lessons, still putting information out in the world for those who unfortunately still don't have the place to practice. I know a lot of studios got closed down. So those people definitely, those coaches and dancers definitely are helping by giving out information. And I found that that motivated me as well when quarantine just started. I know that Timur Imamedinov was posting group lessons, and watching them was very inspiring because I love the way he dances and everything. So that really inspired me to work and push myself. But the main thing I think is how you practice. What are you going to be achieving when you come to your studio? Is it technique? Is it presentation? Is it the musicality? It's always important to have in your mind of what you're going to do, what are you going to practice before you come to the studio and practice. Very important. But yes, Ricky, totally agree with
Would you say that you have any like particular ways that it doesn't have to be specific to quarantine, but obviously back in March when everything was happening, and unfortunately we're still dealing with quarantines kind of coming on and off, competitions being set and then they're being canceled. So we're kind of still in the same situation where it can be very hard to stay motivated. Do you have any particular ways on a daily basis or a weekly basis that helps you stay inspired and to stay motivated to keep going to the studio and practicing and preparing for whenever the next competition may be?
you. Watch competitions on YouTube. I watch a lot of competitions on YouTube. WDC, WDSF, doesn't matter. Whatever you are more into. But genuinely watching competitions helped me a lot. Also, following other people on Instagram, other fellow dancers that compete with you, similar level, could be ahead, could be above you or below you or your level. I know they're posting a lot of practice videos. What I noticed, practice videos, so videos of them practicing. Um, Daniel Hustyuk and Jessica Lee, one of my favorites. couples on the dance floor right now, they post a lot of videos practicing, and it's fun. They post even bloopers and everything, so it's more fun for the watchers. But just watching them practice is incredible. Love it so much. And I know other dancers are doing that as well, which I find is motivating for myself, and I'm sure other people will find it motivating as well. So that's a few things from like the day-to-day basis that I find motivating. How about you, Ricky? Anything you can add?
I would say, kind of before what I go into what motivates me, I could say with the watching your competitors and other dancers on Instagram, especially practice videos. Because when you see videos of the competition on Instagram, like someone posts 30 seconds of them dancing at the comp, you can say, oh, it's a comp. Maybe they were having a good day. Oh, they just had a very good image. That's why they did well, blah, blah, blah. You can come up with all these reasons if maybe you don't want to accept, like, let's say that couple beats you or they normally beat you and you're watching a video they put on Instagram and you're kind of watching it like, I wish they didn't beat me, blah, blah, blah. You're coming up with excuses of why they beat you that day. I would say when it comes to practice videos specifically, there's a way less chance that you're going to say like, oh, they're just having a good day. Oh, it's just their presentation. And you're actually looking at their practice and you imagine in your head, this is what they practice like every single day. Now, for some people, it can be super, super motivating and very like activating where you see that and it activates you and you just want to go to the studio and practice. But then there can be another situation, which I would say to be very careful of. And this is something that I struggle with, is that a lot of the times when I see specifically my competitors, I'm just saying this like people I dance against. I absolutely love watching professionals dance or amateurs about to turn professional, like the highest level amateurs in ballroom and in Latin around the world. Because in my eyes, I'm not at that level yet. And for me, it's such a huge inspiration to watch them. But when I'm watching somebody particularly that I compete against, or that is in my division that I know I have to compete against, I can very, very easily become obsessed. And that's a very weird word to use, but I can be obsessed with watching their practice videos, with watching them on the competition, with watching every single story that they post because they have something that I want. They have whatever, that placement or that round. I haven't achieved that yet. And obviously, if it's something that I want to achieve, I'm watching everything they do to figure out what they're doing that I'm not doing. Which is definitely a way to kind of target your competitors to help improve yourself. But also, if you go too far, like sometimes that I did, that I've done a lot better since quarantine started, focusing just on myself. But definitely before quarantine, I could say I could very easily get obsessed with a couple or a specific dancer and just want to do everything like them. And I'm always thinking about them. When I go to the studio, I'm thinking about them instead of focusing on myself. And that was just holding me back more than it was helping me. So I would say watching people on Instagram is definitely up to you, however you perceive that practice video. If it motivates you, or for some people, they could be watching it and think, oh my gosh, they're so good. How am I ever going to beat them? You know? And then that could actually kind of like push you down a little bit more. So, and then there's people like me that you watch that and you're like, not really either of them. And then you're just getting like obsessed with that couple and you're trying to figure out everything that you can do to either be similar to them or to at least be compared to them on the next competition. So then maybe you have a chance of beating them, if that makes sense. And I would say don't do what I had the problem with. If you struggle with that, I would say stop looking at them. Stop watching every single thing they post. Don't obsessively go to their profile and look about what they posted today. Because I know not everybody has this problem, but since I did, I know other people may have been struggling with this. I would say you have to distance yourself from that. And you have to just, what I always say, just look at the man in the mirror, focus on what you can do to make it better, And once you start focusing on yourself, then you actually give your chance and you actually give yourself and your couple a chance to improve much more and much faster than if you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else that you're competing against, constantly comparing yourself to their dancing versus your dancing or what they have and you don't have, because that just puts your mentality not in a very good state. So distance yourself from that, focus on yourself and your couple, and you might be surprised when the next competition comes around that the judges might actually perceive you differently because you're just focusing on yourself rather than somebody else. But definitely if you're motivated by that, then that's definitely a huge technique you can use to keep yourself motivated, is by watching other couples, whether they're your competitors or not. Just other dancers in general would definitely be a huge thing, especially during quarantine. YouTube, Instagram, just watching different camps, different comps, different lectures even is a huge motivator.
Yes. One thing that I remembered is I have a few friends that I talk to a lot, ballroom friends, and I noticed that we comment on each other's dancing a lot, and not in a mean way. Obviously, it's like, hey, just I noticed that you can do this better and everything. We just discuss, share different opinions that we have about each other's dancing, and I think that's motivating as well. For me, it was motivating for sure for all of us. Because, well, first of all, it was something to talk about. We talked about it for 4 hours, not kidding. At night for 4 hours, we just stayed up talking about that. And it was, first of all, really fun, but we all benefited from it. We all got this drive to go to the studio the next day, work on whatever we talked about. And it's one thing to hear the same thing from your teacher or coach. It's a completely different thing to hear it for a different teacher or a just a friend who's a dancer as well, because it hits you differently. This is why my studio, my coach always invited the guest teachers once in a while, because he knew that hearing similar information from a different person is going to stick with us longer, because it's someone we haven't met yet or have met yet, but we've like been dying to take a lesson with. We're going to take that information more seriously from the guest teacher than from our normal teacher, which is completely fine. It's natural, it's normal. A lot of people have that. Some people are like machines or sponges. They absorb information. It's crazy. I was always fascinated by those people. I've always wondered how they can absorb 90% of the information that they got on the lecture or on their lesson. But again, there is different ways you can achieve that. You can write down everything that you remember from the lesson, or record yourself talking about it. Or if you're a teacher, teach it to other students that you have, the same information that you had. Of course, if they're bronze, you can't be teaching them hip action in paso or something like that. Even though that's a bad example, but whatever. And that really pushed me. So just a small thing right there. But yeah, Ricky, anything else you'd like to add?
I don't have anything necessarily to add to this podcast. I definitely hope that we talked about some topics that would help our listeners, our viewers, give our little bit of insight on it, what we're experiencing during the holidays, during quarantine, everything about from food, diet, exercising, and staying inspired. Definitely, we know it's a hard time for a lot of dancers, not only dancers, but everybody right now. But we're talking specifically to dancers on our audience and our platform. And I really hope that our podcasts are either helping you guys or entertaining you and that you're enjoying them. We're really enjoying making them. And we're excited to see what 2021 brings for the Why We Ballroom podcast. And we will hopefully talk to you guys very, very soon.
Absolutely, guys. Happy New Year. Make sure to get those resolutions correct and the right people to complete them with. Stay safe, stay happy. See you next week. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.